This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. We're not live. I know we sound live, but we aren't. So do not text the show. But you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. Just like the old days. Hello.
Hiya.
Hello.
I can't see Alan or Emily, and they can't see me or each other. So we're reaching our individual lock-ins, but it's still lovely to hear your warm voices.
I thought you were going to ask us what we were wearing then.
No,
Well, at the risk of
I
sounding
don't care.
At the risk of sounding creepy, I would quite like to know what you're wearing, Frank and Alan.
Well, okay then. I'm wearing a very tattered pair of shorts in a camouflage pattern. And I'm wearing a white T-shirt that has images of the 10th, 11th and 12th Doctor from Doctor Who on them. Thanks
And
for asking.
I've got on exactly the same.
Have you? That is. What's the chances?
I mean, the same
Harry,
Doctor
get
Who
out.
T-shirt. Everything.
Harry, you all right? Harry's frothing at the... Is that a medical bag? Oh, it's his. Sorry, Al. What are you really wearing?
I too am wearing some shorts. I have some almost like
Shorts?
little pop socks, ankle socks on, because it
You
was
are
cold down in my
having
cellar when I came down here.
Oh, it's cold in the cellar.
And
No one's denying that.
The
And at
cellar.
the risk of fashion victim status, I also popped on a fleece as I came down here because it's so
don't
cold.
worry, you're not at any risk of
Way.
that.
It's like working with a television engineer. Does it say something like birds of a feather on the breast?
It's often I
Phantom
find
96.
it's often the Vicar of Dibley. I find
Yes.
with these crew
Yes.
hoodies. Well, so both of you have cracked out the shorts quite
So,
early.
yeah.
Al, look, I've been around a long time. I've had my career, so I'll ask Emily what she's wearing. Rather
It's been nice
than,
working with you. It's been nice working with you.
I don't want to give you a hospital pass on this
It
one.
gives me no pleasure to say this, but I do think I'm out of the danger zone. But anyway, I'm wearing a fuchsia cropped hoodie. I wasn't
yes,
expecting that.
Well, my problem is now I can't picture fuchsia. What is that
Yeah,
sort
this
of
is-
It's a
pink?
very shocking pink, and it was given to me by my goddaughter. And it was given to me, it was a matching set, and there was a miniature one for my dog Raymond.
That's nice.
That is something. Yeah. It's a good job that they focused on you, though, and made him the secondary consideration. Otherwise, you could be saying, I'm just wearing a studded collar at the moment.
I think we all know who's wearing that, Frank.
Yeah, well, exactly. But, I've got to keep this laptop upright. I wear it on a sort of a neck band around, so I can have it at my waist. Who was that? Do you remember that band? I can't remember what they sang now. Was it M People or something? And there was a bloke who had a keyboard around his shoulders. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, I thought, did Howard Jones have one of those? Surely at some point
probably.
in the Mental Chains days, he must have had one of those.
Did I tell you when my son was a mascot at Tottenham Hotspur? I know. They had a little interview with each of the mascots in the programme, and they asked him the famous person you'd most like to meet, and he said Howard Jones.
Oh,
Obscure.
I mean,
Yeah,
respect, but that hasn't happened for a while.
He loves the music. Simple as that. Simple as that. Did you guys watch The Queen, by the way?
I watched it on BBC iPlayer.
Wow.
I was in bits.
That was... Yeah. Did you watch it?
Yeah, loved it.
I saw, before they did it, they had an interview on the new BBC News with Nicholas Witchell, the royal correspondent, which always makes me laugh.
Who is famous for, Frank?
Does he believe in the Loch Ness Monster? Who was that
Nicholas
guy?
No,
Well, no,
he was the
Nicholas
one that
Witchell
Prince Charles was a little unkind about when they were
I don't think we
skiing.
can say exactly what Prince Charles said, can we?
No.
I don't think we can say the B word.
No.
That man. He's like that. It's like that. He hates him, apparently, Prince Charles. Anyway, now after that sidetrack, you've turned this into a Nicholas Witchell cliffhanger. but let's just enjoy it.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So anyway, as I was saying, Nicholas Witchell, the woman who was interviewing him said, so it's quite unusual, the Queen doing a talk to the public, not at Christmas. And Nicholas Witchell said, a rare moment indeed. And I thought, you haven't got another voice, have you? That is your voice, your royal correspondent, the one you use for the funerals and everything, that's you. And he started saying all that stuff. Yes, she is, of course, our head of state. And I thought, Nicholas, this woman's trying to interview you. Yeah. And you're talking like she's opened up some old BBC archive. I did think of him, the old thing of him getting home and the wife saying, how was it today? It was a grand occasion. The crowd, and Nicholas, shut up. Get on my
Do you think
nerves.
it extends to his entire domestic life?
Oh,
like the
I bet it
Nando's
does.
has been placed on the table.
I think he used to have another. I think he had another voice once, and it's just gone. If there's one thing, if someone offered me the job of royal correspondent, I'd tell them to stick it. It's
Quite
not
right
a job
too.
you want. Yeah, awful
You've
job.
got other irons in the fire.
That'll be
Well, I have.
disappointing news for all those people lining up to offer you that job. Can
What
you
if
imagine
they
if
offered
Frank
me?
Allen was the royal correspondent?
Oh
It'd be
man,
a strange turn of events, but I wouldn't rule anything out in these times.
I've got a bit of previous with the royals.
Haven't you?
Right, yeah.
Also, Al being slightly gittish as well. I would enjoy that enormously.
Well, I actually I got on. Do you remember with when I met Prince Charles? And if I told you about this, I met him a couple of times, but I met him actually at his house, and he told me that he'd been looking at. He got his own YouTube page. He told me.
This story makes me cringe.
Yes, it's painful.
Sickening.
He said I've been looking at some of the comments, and I actually held his arm. I mean, I could have been taken down by the men with the curly wire coming from behind their ears, but I said, you really mustn't read the comment. You must not read the comments on there. And I actually said, I know I've told this story before, but I actually said, I beseech you. And I think that was because he was a prince, and it sort of seemed the sort of thing one said in costume dramas.
You
But
went
can
a bit
you imagine-
Witchellian, Nicholas Witchell.
But can you imagine the comments on Prince Charles's YouTube page? Oh, I mean, it's only going to break his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did he say in response, Frank? I can't remember. Did he reply?
And he said, my assistant goes through them first. And I thought, well, that's all right then. I mean, I remember on the night of our Queen of Hearts' funeral going down to Buckingham Palace after, when there was walls of dedications, flowers and stuff outside. And there was one very badly written note that said, Charles, you lost the best thing you ever had! ! So that was just a little inkling of the amount of hate out there.
Not so much a tribute as hate mail, actually. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that is, yeah. I think it had a cuddly tie with it as well.
Of course it did.
With a pin through the head. Did I say cuddly tie? I meant voodoo charm. Yes. So
I like
so,
the
yes.
Queen's brooch. She loves a brooch. And you don't often see brooches in this
And
modern era.
did it have a code? Because sometimes the newspapers interpret her brooches to mean stuff like she disapproves of leaving the EU or she's approving of, whatever it is. Was there any kind of code theory to her brooch and dress choice this time?
I think that it said vote Labour.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So I found our Keith the other day.
Oh, how's he doing in isolation?
He's had, I think his freezer and his fridge have broken down, which is bad news. So he's
That's
drinking quite a lot of warm beer. And he was talking to me about, you know, the various restrictions and all that. He's a man who just puts one foot in front of the other, Keith, and carries on. He said to me, that I never liked the handshaking thing. He said that's a Birmingham thing. I said, is it? He said, yeah, they don't do that in the Black Country. He said, it's only I've ever seen Brummies used to come in and they'd do it, you know. You had to join in a bit. And I thought, well, this is I should point out for people who are not aware of this, the Black Country is an area sort of northwest of Birmingham, called so because of the industrial soot which used to cover it. And there's a bit of a rivalry between the Black Country, where I come from, my brother comes from, and Birmingham. And at first I thought it was a ludicrous suggestion, and then the more I thought about it, I realised that I don't think I shook anyone's hand until I was about 14 or 15, and I don't think it was around in the Black Country. So if people had followed our lead, we could be in a much better position than we are at the moment, health-wise. That's all I'm saying.
You
Well,
reckon?
I've never been a fan of a handshake.
No.
I've always resisted the handshake, and that's why I've always gone for the hug, straight in for the hug.
You think that's better?
Yes,
these
I
times?
do. I don't like touching hands.
Well, it's. Am I right in saying that the handshake is a man's thing, mainly?
I think so.
I think so.
I think it's a bit of a show of strength in it. I once saw Chris Eubank shake the hand of Jeff Goldblum and actually get him down. Yeah, and I what
Story.
the reason I.
This is already a weird story.
Wait,
So it's very nice to meet you, Mr. Goldblum. It's great to meet you. And he squeezed, and I knew what Chris Eubank done because he did it to me once. He takes your hand in a really vice-like grip, and really it hurts.
Ooh.
And he did it to Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff Goldblum went down on one knee.
Good lad.
In
the way.
pain.
an early civil partnership there.
Exactly. Yeah, he couldn't resist it, Chris Eubank. He couldn't resist inflicting the pain.
I wonder how he's
So,
coping in the lockdown, Frank Eubank.
I imagine that it'll be... Sorry, carry on.
Well, he just strikes me as someone who's, he's quite thirsty, I think, for the attention, isn't he?
I think it'll be like Cape Fear, won't it? He'll come out with all sorts of strange tattoos of communist leaders and put his thumb in some young girl's mouth.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen Cape Fear. That wasn't a random suggestion. It's a scene from the movie. Not now, commode.
I picture him today, Frank, wearing nothing but jobbers, chopping wood.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, chopping wood. What about the monocle in case there's any splinters? I'll risk one eye, but certainly not both.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, have we heard from that which we used to describe as the outside world?
We were talking about elephants, drunk elephants. Do you remember last week?
Oh, I do, of course, yeah. On corn wine.
Yeah, they'd got strung out on corn wine.
Strung out.
And some of our readers have been in touch, including Liz at Freaky Tea, who gives you a little insight into her life.
Did anyone answer my texting question, what do elephants know?
Oh. I think we have
not
had a
as
conclusive
such.
answer to that.
That's a pity.
But
I'll continue
Liz-
my quest.
Liz says the nearest relative to the elephant, because to be fair, you did also ask that question, Frank.
Yes, I
Yes.
mooted the hippopotamus and the tapir, I believe, as possible relatives of the elephant.
Well, Freaky Tea says the nearest relative, who's a very trustworthy source, to the elephant is a rock hyrax, a small furry African mammal. But other close relatives, and she's put relatives in little quote marks, which I like,
Right.
to the elephant include manatees and dugongs.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
they're an obscure family. The elephants have dominated that family.
They
for
really
years.
And they've got the best PR.
If ever, as a result of all the things that's going on now, I have to work in the adult film industry, Rock Hyrax is going to be my name.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cracking, isn't it? Okay, so
But Alex from Cambridge says other members now extinct are the mammoths and the mastodons. The closest living relatives to elephants, careful everyone, are manatees and hyraxes. That's correct. And hippos and tapirs are more distantly related.
so they are. I got them in the. They're in the Venn diagram. As they say.
They drink in the same bar.
For elegantly avoiding the Latin that he used in his email there.
Well,
Is it Proboscidia?
It's Holy Week.
proboscidia.
Is it Proboscidia?
And I know
That
that
makes
for
sense, doesn't
reasons
it?
for reasons that will become clear soon.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, because that's it's nose based, isn't it?
Yes, and it's a hard C, obviously. Thank you.
Well, you say that. I
cheddar.
remember Lord Nelson saying that to me once. Arrogant, very arrogant man. I mean, worshipped, very arrogant.
I mean, many people have mentioned manatees. I don't even think I can picture a manatees, and that's not a manatees
very
joke.
fine.
No, I mean it. I don't know what the animal manatees.
Been a long time since I've had a manatee.
Oh man, I studied this in humanities.
Oh God!
So I think that's it. Let me just check. No, that's it. That is the full textbook manatee joke roster has been covered.
Oh.
We haven't even got on to. We've already done a Rock Hyrax. I think we've sucked all the goodness out of those responses. Can I say that I went onto the BBC Sport app this week, which every day offers 5 things to do in one place, which of course is very good at the moment. And it offers you little tips and competitions, quizzes and stuff like that. It's a lovely idea. And the thing that caught my eye, which I didn't actually click on it, but it was this. There was one entitled, "Do you know more about James Bond than Darren Bent?" I mean, I'll never know, but it intrigued me.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I'll tell you what I've realised during this incarceration that we're all experiencing. I say all, some people are utterly ignoring it, of course, but let's not go into that.
Not many, I don't think, but some.
Yeah, some. It's always some. I mean, that's just the world. I've always washed my hair every other day.
Oh, have you?
And now I've gone to washing my hair twice a week. And you know what? There is no noticeable difference in my hair.
Not for you. How's Kath getting on?
No, it all seems... I think, looking back, I've been a damned fool when it comes to hair washing. I think I've overwashed.
Are you worrying about how much money you've spent unnecessarily on shampoo all those years?
Well, it's all very well when you're in a hotel, but I go so heavily on the products in a hotel. But yes, I think I have, and I wondered if I've turned my hair to some sort of straw by over washing. I think we'll learn a lot of lessons during this. Well,
it is meant to be much better for your hair, isn't it? To leave it, you should let the natural oils. That's the thing, because you're stripping them of their natural oils, aren't you?
That's right.
Didn't Sting say he washed his hair about once every 6 months?
He hasn't washed in years.
Yeah, I mean, and he looks lovely. Sting.
He does.
Now, those friendship bracelets will be grubby. That's what worries me.
He wants to watch them around those candles.
Yeah.
I imagine he's got a short on at the moment.
Oh,
Do you? I always
so.
see Sting in a pair of shorts.
Do you think Sting is in the UK, or do you think he's in LA or something like that?
Wherever he is, he'll be cross-legged with a guitar.
I would
Oh,
think so.
definitely. And he could be naked, actually. He's that kind of a bloke, isn't he?
Oh, he likes the tantrics.
If he's not got an overlooked garden, I don't see why he shouldn't be.
Well, exactly. You know what? I'm not really a gambling man, but I'd put, let's say, £8 on the fact that Sting has not got an overlooked garden.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I do.
knows
That's the reason. I do have an overlooked garden, and that's why I've got my shorts on. I don't mind telling you.
Yeah, I've got... it's nice because... Things like a letter came to the letterbox today for next door. It can happen. I'm not blaming the post office. But I just went and put it on their garden wall and shouted and said, "There's a letter for you." It's a lovely, simple method. I'm getting more communal. When we do the applause thing, the applause for the NHS.
Oh yeah.
That feels very community-based.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I've organised a 2-minute boo and cat call for people who are not observing the government guidelines. Because
That's nice.
I like encouragement, but I think discouragement is at least equally powerful. If not more so.
You were talking about the postal service, Frank, and I would like to flag up something that at the beginning of this, before we started recording, I'm not going to use the word smug, but you and Alan were both talking about your foam, and I didn't know what you meant that you'd been sent for your microphones. I don't have any such foam.
We got a little sock. I think it's a pop sock or a popper, is it?
I think it is called
Did
a pop.
you?
Is it called a pop sock? Surely it's those things that Japanese
People will
teenagers
know.
wear.
People will know what we mean. The foam bit on a microphone.
You put it over a microphone and it's foam and it stops that pop, which I would do if I wasn't wearing my foam thing.
Well, why come I didn't get one?
That's wrong.
Well, this is how you
should have
find
got
out.
one. I would. I mean, it took me an hour and 20 minutes to get it on. Being a Catholic, I am a Catholic. I have, it's so alien to me, the whole thing. But yeah, we'll. I'm sure we can get you one. Em.
Oh, cut up
It's
an old pair
great.
of tights. Never mind.
And it's great if you want to do an impression of Pluto for the local kids. I mean, the dog rather than the planet. It's perfect for that.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. We are not live, so do not text the show, ! But you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. Please do that, by the way. I know we're not live, but it's great to read the stuff and then we'll talk about it through the next show we do. What we don't want to do in particular is lose that two-way thing that's always been a brilliant aspect of this show and part of it which I love a great deal. So stay in touch, you readers. We need you. Sorry,
Nice.
Alan.
I like the keep in touch. You beseech them, don't you?
I really, but
Yeah.
I mean that. Can you think of how many, we have had so many brilliant, if you was to take the text that we've had over the years, there's so much richness and invention and information. So, I don't want to lose that. Okay.
And also, I think it's fair to say that the tabloids aren't as full of funny stories as they used to be. I feel somewhat sorry for paparazzi, who now can only photograph people when they're jogging. That's really all
person
they've
who's
got
ever
now.
said that.
'Cause
Also, the red carpet. You need a really long red carpet if the paparazzi have got to stay 2 metres apart from each other.
But celebrities used to do other things except for coming out of their house to jog, and now that's the only thing
And they've
they
got the
can
masks on
photograph.
now as well.
Surely they've still got the scope for reality stars in scanty underwear emptying the bins. That is a leitmotif in the tabloids I've seen
Well, what
many a
about
time and off.
the reality stars that, when they set up their own pictures and then say, oh no, I've been caught, and actually they arranged for the photographs to be taken. Those ones are in trouble as well. You've got to feel for them.
Well,
this is
I must have told you that I was a well-known red top got in touch with me. This was in my glory days, and said we'll pay for you and your girlfriend to go to the Caribbean for a 7-day beach holiday, but you'll have to let us photograph you on the beach and look like you don't know about it. And if you do that, we'll cover the costs. So it's a handy. I didn't do it. I mean, God, I haven't sunk that low.
No.
She was furious looking back. This is a different girlfriend. Absolutely furious that I
No, that's
looked a
not
gift
Kath's
horse in
style.
the mouth. No, Kath wouldn't have gone.
No.
Doesn't like planes, doesn't like sunshine, doesn't like publicity, doesn't like me. Oh, sorry. Sorry, can we lose that last? Oh, we can't. Well, we can, but we're not going to. Sorry, Al, I jumped in.
I have a non-celebrity jogging news story to bring to your attention. A pensioner turned down the offer of a Van Gogh painting, not knowing.
Oh, yes.
I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not saying Van Gogh. I think that is how people say it. Obviously, for many
I
years
say
I
Gough,
said Van Gogh.
but you know,
I think Americans say Van Gogh, don't they?
I think they do.
Oh,
It's not a Descartes
Well-
moment, though.
it's not.
No, it's
although
fine.
I have had
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were asked what they wanted from a Staffordshire farmhouse before it went up for sale. She knew the person, and asked for this dirty, uncared for looking picture. She says in the thing it looked old, very dirty, and uncared for, which coincidentally is exactly my lockdown vibe. That's how I'm looking right now. But she
and
was
my
then
next
persuaded-
autobiography, actually, Al. Thanks for that title.
Yeah.
She was
And
persuaded
it would
that
be
wasn't
my
worth having.
it would be my Twitter handle if I had it.
And instead, she took a brass handbell, which is now worth £1, and later found out that it was sold for an estimated 12 to 13 million pounds.
Yeah.
Yes, there's so many things in this. For a start off, when it said, the headline says something like, pensioner turns down 13 million Van Gogh painting for £1 handbell. Does
Yes.
that mean that she actually got the handbell valued? What kind of a predatory opportunist is this old girl? Wow, I thought that was pretty. Well, there's more. I have more questions about
I've
this.
got so much to talk about. Gail
Yeah.
Horrell, pensioner.
Yes,
don't
but
even know where
first,
to begin.
some of this.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
One of the things I liked about the story of the pensioner and the Van Gogh painting was the title of the painting, which is
Yes.
Peasant Woman in Front of Farmhouse, which sounded to me like a really, really bad guess on catchphrase.
Yeah. Say what you see.
Yeah, I know I said say what you see, but that's terrible. It's
It
good, but
sounds
it's
so
not
much
right.
more romantic in French. Paysan devant une chambre. Now that's
Oh.
nicer, isn't it? Well, that's
That
what I
is
read
nicer.
anyway. But
No,
Frank,
I enjoyed
liked,
that.
I like the sound of this woman because she sounded like she might be a bit of a
Gay?
git. In the best sense of the word, a bit gittish.
She's called Gay, isn't she?
She's
She
called
is.
Gay.
Yeah.
Gail, I think her name is actually Gail.
Oh.
Is it Gay or Gail? Is it Gay?
I think it's Gay, G-A-Y-E.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
She got the painting from her in-laws when they were sort of clearing out their house, didn't she?
Can I stop you there?
Sure.
Because what she got, you say, what it actually says was her former in-laws. Now, I don't know if you remember, there was a little time in the 90s when they had competitions for one-line novels for people to write one line. And for me, her former in-laws has got so much extra material kicking
The
around
layers
it.
in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know the relationships. I want to know what went wrong.
Yes. Well,
Are they her former in-laws because of the Van Gogh?
Well, I think we get some insight into the nature of their relationship when she says, she sort of implies that there was a sort of conspiracy. She says, "Oh dear, how very naive of me. Of course, in those days I couldn't argue with them and ended up with a brass handbell. I learnt my lesson the hard way." There's a lot to unpack in that.
There is.
Because
in those days, I couldn't argue with them.
Since then, before I became a battle axe,
They're really liberated.
The Guy could be listening. We love you, Guy, and I mean, enjoy. Give us a ring
I'm
on the handbell,
self-styled
ideally.
battle axe myself. But what I liked was she seemed to be implying there'd been some skullduggery. I felt.
Well, I mean,
they
my
didn't
first
profit.
thought was they were selling the farmhouse, and they said you can have anything you like. So they needn't have done that. These former in-laws, as I like to call them, let's call them Phil.
FIL.
Yeah, they needn't have offered Gay anything at all. Also, she could have. She said she picked the painting, and they said, "Well, you know, it's not very nice." They sold it for £4. It said,
I got £4.
So it weren't like they thinking, "Oh no, you're not getting the Van Gogh." I think they were actually trying to be kind and saying, "Don't take that horrible painting."
They're not profiting.
And also, that the handbell could come in very handy during the social distancing
Indeed.
thing.
Good
And
point.
also, you know, if you think about the NHS applause, take the handbell out there, Guy. Go for it.
Although, I do think Gay. I mean, it did say Vincent on it. It was one of the few
Very
paintings
faintly.
he'd signed. It's hardly up there with the sort of 3, 2, 1 clues in terms of being sort of impenetrability. It's fairly obvious. It says Vincent. At least get it valued.
Here's the thing I didn't know. Fair play to VVG. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he
Never
signed
been
it
called
Vincent.
that, love.
He was an early adopter in the like famous for the first name thing. He was like his generation's Beyonce or Kanye.
Yeah, it's true. No, but I would have been. I mean, obviously, there's other Vincents in the world, but yeah, you would. It'd draw your attention, wouldn't it? That on the painting. I mean, what's the chances of it being Vince Cable?
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So the other thing about what I like to call the pensioner and the Van Gogh, that story, is I had a look at a picture of Gay at her kitchen table, and now regular readers will know that we three recently put pictures of ourselves recording these remote podcasts. Well, we're not
Indeed.
actually podcasts; they're radio shows. Get over it. And
Potato.
what people do, yeah, is they just look at the background and talk about what your house is like. And I had a look at, I did exactly the same thing. I had a really good look at what Gay was up to, and I am pretty convinced that she was looking at a Scion organizer. Do you remember? Do you remember those? If you look at the picture in the Sun newspaper, that looks to me like a piece of tech from the 1990s.
Everything about her is from the past and unusual.
She needs to stop. She needs to stop living in the past. I mean,
does.
she's probably had it valued. I don't doubt.
I mean, when did this
Sire.
happen? Well, this happened. I was going to say that, Frank. I mean, it was a long time ago, love. When was it? 53 years ago?
Was it that long?
I believe
It's
so.
a while.
Oh my goodness! I didn't realise it was that long.
Well, I know. I'm not saying I've got a lot of time on my hands, but I do know it was passed to a gentleman called Luigi in 1967, who then went on to sell it. And
Did he put it up in his barber's shop?
Yeah.
No, I like the sound. He was an Italian who worked for the BBC.
Was
it
he?
said, yes.
Right. Okay.
Gino, I don't know if it was Gino Di Campo. I don't know. In a former
It was
life, but
Luigi.
it was Luigi got. I think he paid £45, and he then got $100,000 for it when he sold it.
Whoa.
Not
But even
bad.
Luigi's not. He's not made the full 13.
No,
No.
exactly. I mean, it has all the making. Oh, by the way, before I move on, when I was looking at her kitchen table and all that, I noticed she was she had one of those things that you see with the pensioners of the crossword that's been removed from the paper and folded into a nice, so you can make it last the week.
Oh, did it?
And I was slightly worried she might be looking for answers on the Scion, thus somewhat cheating, I would say, on the crossword. I don't want to. I'm not sure about that. I'm not saying that's gospel, but I was worried by it.
What I would say about Gay, the message I would communicate to Gay, I would like to give her is that, I think it's for the best. You don't want that 13 million quid.
No,
Look what happened to the Lotto lout, throwing Big Macs out of Hummers. That's not the destiny you want for yourself.
Spend. Viv Nicholson, was it? Viv Nichols? Yes. Yeah. So, she's probably best out of it. Mm-hmm. Also, I would say, at the end of the day, it was never yours. It was never, there's no obligation that it should have been yours. And I think the headline probably should have been, "Woman in Same Room as Van Gogh Painting." Because this is not something that was taken away in some way. It's something she saw.
The headline should be
seen
"Woman still using Scion."
Yeah, I've seen
dropping some brutal truths to Gay here.
I mean, I've seen the Mona Lisa. I don't have any sense of ownership whatsoever.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So, what are you? Obviously, I'm not seeing you guys, only hearing you. What are you actually up to during lockdown?
Well, I'm mainly feeling jealous of people who buy antique, like scruffy old paintings and then find that they rocket up in value to 13 million. Because I've thought about this, having read this story, and I don't think I've ever bought anything that has then gone up in value in any surprise way. And actually, I've had quite the reverse just recently. Shortly before the lockdown, I bought a campervan, which I now can't go anywhere in. It's like I bought it thinking, that'll be good fun, won't it? Me and the family will go away and we'll camp. And now it's just like it couldn't have become more of a useless thing. I think it might be illegal for me to use it just now.
Yeah, it probably is, yeah.
Which is the opposite of saying, I'll have that old painting and then it becoming 13 million quid's worth.
Yeah, sort of a Campervan Gough.
Oh, lovely.
Is there anyone who hasn't at some point in their life thought about buying a campervan? So I do respect you for actually, but you haven't. Okay.
Never,
I used to.
Ever would I ever.
Oh, I like the idea of it. I always imagine, though, if you're in a campervan, that you park up somewhere at night and then violent youths with tin openers take the side off and take you out and do terrible things to you and your family.
Well, that's
what puts me off.
I train martial arts exactly for that. I've got very good tin opener teenager defence. Well, I
mean, if they opened up the side and you were there, I can imagine that they've opened. It's like those boxes where you open where there's a boxing glove on a spring.
Yeah, they'd ruin
But
the day.
if they open up and I'm there, I mean,
when you say campervan, I'm interested in the style because my only experience. I mean, there's what I call the boys' own bus, if you know what I mean by that.
Mm.
You know, those sort of touring band buses.
Yeah,
I like
might be
those
a bit
appeal
better
to
than
me.
what I'm talking.
Okay, are you talking more John Pertwee collapses a caravan in 8 seconds on Nationwide in 1973?
Is yours a VW?
No.
Oh.
Most judgmental noise I've ever heard.
No, it's just that I had a mental picture of it and it was wrong.
Anyway, it's just a shame that I haven't got it. I've also,
no, but it'll keep it, or they don't go off, do they?
That's true.
Campervans?
That's true.
And you can use it for domestic disputes, rows. I'd go in there if I had a row.
Sort of go and hang out in it.
It's like the
But
sin
you're
bin,
right,
just go and cool off.
I think it might be. It's the innocuous things that have become suddenly dangerous, like a campervan. Like I retained as a souvenir a Vuvuzela.
Oh,
and I thought, if I took this out now, blowing this, it'd be like carrying a sawn-off shotgun. Just be spraying saliva in all directions. Not only that, but it comes with a warning, the sound.
Well, you're right, Frank. The bubble maker's a lethal weapon. I saw someone
God,
driving
one of those
around
in
in
the
a...
garden.
Have you?
Or at the pea shooter. That'd be the sort of thing Carlos the Jackal would be using now.
Friend of the show.
Oh yeah, Carlos the Jackal. He's I like a specialist in any area, and I have always loved
Extraordinary.
those suitcases that have had special compartments made out of foam for the parts of the rifle to sit in. I was once sent by Ribena at how to make Ribena kit, and it all sat in neat little sort of brush velvet thing, and it's lovely.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
So I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to, boys. I've decided I'm going to spend this time wisely, and I thought I'd learn a new language.
Oh, brilliant!
So I've got a smattering of French, some basic conversational Turkish.
Have you?
Kaç para? Teşekkür ederim.
Bless
I
you.
can say things like that.
I've known you for how long? 20 years. I had
Yes.
no idea you had conversational Turkish.
Well, my mother spoke fluent Turkish, so I picked bits up. Yes.
Wow, the things that steadily ooze from people if you hang around them long enough, like sap from a tree trunk.
I can't say
Wow.
much. I could, nasılsınız? That's how you say how are you. Anyway, I've always had a great affection for this language that I'm about to tell you about, but I've never mastered it. Do you want to guess what it is? Can you guess what language
Klingon?
I've decided?
Klingon. Good shout.
A language you've always hankered
Yeah.
for. I'm going to say Spanish.
Okay, Al,
Oh,
what's
I
your
thought-
guess?
I thought Frank's guess was going to be a hopeful Russian.
No.
Do
you know what it is? Shall I reveal all? Latin.
Italian.
Latin.
Latin.
Yes.
That will come in handy.
Well, it will. Hear me out. Hear me out. I mean, I haven't spoken it since childhood. No jokes, please.
Yeah, you grew up Emily grew up in ancient Rome, for those of you
Anybody
who
else
don't
just
know.
bitten
It was-
their hand off trying not
it
to
was-
make that joke?
Yeah. It was the
I
whole
thought it was best to get it out there.
the whole Pompeii business just wiped everyone.
Oh, man.
But it's a romance language which I liked. You know, that really appealed to me.
Nice.
And then I read that Mark Zuckerberg was a massive fan of Latin. It's got a lot
I
in
didn't
common
know that.
with gay.
I knew he liked plastic flip-flops,
Oh, is that what he's into?
but not Latin. They rarely go together. Although I
and
suppose
Star Wars.
They like to sandal. Does he like Star Wars?
He had a Star Wars themed wedding, I believe, didn't
Oh,
he?
did he?
Yes.
Did he?
Anyway, what I've read and heard about Latin, because I did learn it sort of just vaguely when I was a kid, I did it for a few years, but because it's a sort of root language, it helps you understand English better. And I like the idea of that, but also it's very good for disciplining the mind. The other thing, Frank, do you know where the only place in the world in which it's spoken still?
Vatican City?
Yes!
Yes, it was a fair bet, I would have
Well,
thought.
I thought we could. Wouldn't that be great? I'll be able to speak to the Pope. Oh, so I'm doing it. I do it twice a day. I go in. I have this thing Duolingo, and I go in and I learn phrases. I've learned a few already.
Brilliant. Pass
Minime, Frank Domi Dormit. Do you know what that means?
Stay at home.
No.
Pass me the
No,
Dominoes.
Frank sleeps at home. That means.
Oh.
Oh, I reckon the dorm home thing. What about Parsius in Unctus?
Oh, I don't know.
No,
Don't start throwing.
Iunctus. No, I only.
does that mean?
Just because when you start talking, I have at my side, coincidentally, the complete odes and epodes of Horace. So I thought I'd just. There's one
We
called
throw that in.
Parsius Iunctus. But if
Sorry
you'd
to
have
hear
come
that.
if you'd have bounced back with that, I'd have been well
I'm
impressed.
sorry. I'm not. Well, I'm still feeling my way.
It's
but you
a
know what I
great thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, Frank, you know what I loved? Well, I'm going to start saying salvete when I greet you two now. But I liked, there's a phrase I came across, which was fac ut vivas, get a life.
Oh,
Is it?
Come on,
yeah,
Frank.
that'd be. You see, get a life is such a rubbish thing to say to people, but once you say it in Latin...
Facut vivus, or
Gives it a bit of
nullo modo.
gravitas.
No way.
What was that one?
Nullo modo. No way. Can you imagine saying that?
Yeah, nullo modo, mate.
Mate.
That's it. I really though. What you see, what worries me is I'm going
Go
to
on.
come through this whole thing and think, I should have used my time more.
Join the Latin
wisely.
crew with me and the Pope.
Yeah,
That's all of it. That's the whole
Yeah.
Latin crew.
the
That's just us.
Pope's got a bit more spare time on his hands, so probably could.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. We're not live, so do not text the show, but you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on both Twitter and Instagram. And you can email us via the Absolute Radio website, so that's still on the cards.
Lupus in fabula, Frank.
What, there's a big rabbit coming?
That means speak of the devil.
does it?
How good is that?
That is a
Lupus.
good one.
Lupus
I
in
thought
fabula.
that was lupus was a rabbit thing. What do I know of Latin? I mean,
think
I've been
that's
speaking
What
it.
do you know of Latin?
Well, I only know the stuff from the liturgy, so it doesn't crop up that much. Hosanna in excelsis. Obviously, this week I'll be in my element. Can I tell you something? And this is, I don't know whether it says something about my decaying mind. But when Emily was telling us that she was learning Latin, I was so impressed and thought, that's so brilliant. And what a novel and interesting thing. Why didn't I think of doing something like that? And then I remembered that I've actually just sent off for an Old English correspondence course. Which had completely slipped my mind.
Really?
As if these things are so... Yeah, for many years, because of my obsession with the Anglo-Saxons, I have hankered to speak Old English, and I've now put my money where my beowulf is, and I've signed up. So I'll keep you posted on that. I mean, soon there'll be no need for English on this show at all.
Well, you're a veritable modernist compared to me with the Old English.
Yeah. That's true.
You and your newfangled ways.
It's interesting though, because the Romans left Britain and then were soon replaced by the Anglo-Saxons. So there is a sort of a logic to all this.
How's Al going to beat us, Frank? Because if I've got Latin, you've got the Old English. What's he going to go for?
Al has got a fair amount of the Southeast Asian languages that from cries of warning and violence during his many thrusts and parries.
I'm mainly doing a deep dive in the language of shouting at children. That's my current study. Yes.
It's interesting that because it's temper combined with not swearing often.
Yes. I'm slightly worried.
Can I ask you a question about?
Sure.
Go on. What's your question?
No, I was just going to say on the martial arts front, I've been watching a lot of the Third Doctor recently, the John Pertwee manifestation, and he does Venusian karate.
Venusian karate, not a karate that I've encountered in my many years of
What's
study.
that? What they play?
Well,
they do it on Venus.
When he does it, he's quite theatrical, Pertwee, generally speaking, but he does a lot of that.
You don't
hear
say.
in the martial art thing. He does a lot of that. Hi.
Yeah.
when he chops people on the neck. Do you do that?
No. In
I imagine you're
grappling,
going,
yes. In karate, I think that does happen, but in grappling, you're actually, you're catching hold of the guy rather than striking him. If that makes
So
sense.
you don't do the sort of da-da-da, da-da-da.
No.
Anyone who's ever seen Elvis live will know what that music's reference
Yes.
to.
I mean,
Elvis
truthfully,
was
I don't do any of this at the moment, but it's been very affected by the social distancing.
It
the
would be
grappling.
grappling is going to be.
Yes.
That's the worst thing.
What did you say about Elvis, Frank?
I was going to say he would sometimes do a 25-minute karate demonstration during a stage show. I This was towards the end, obviously. But I spoke to a member of his band who said to me it was tedious in the extreme. He said it was unbearable, but no one could tell him. I think no one could tell him is probably, when you speak to ex-Elvis people, that is the phrase that comes up the most often. But still loved, of course. Still loved by the crowd. I, on stage, don't do any of that. But I'm thinking now Al could put in maybe 5 minutes.
Of karate?
Yeah, some sort of, some maybe Hapkido. Something of that nature.
I'll give it thought.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, but we've become the sort of collective go-to posse for anything Doctor Who and Dalek related, just FYI. So
makes me very proud indeed.
I like Alan's
Yeah. I feel differently, but it's good
Okay.
we're all it's good we're all different.
Okay, so we've been sent this. I was sent this personally via my Twitter account. It also came in by the show Twitter account at Frank on the Radio. There was a video of a Dalek roaming the streets, which went viral this week, and lots of people sent us this link. We had at Dave Army, thought you might enjoy this, at Kate Collister. There's a Dalek out there looking for you, Frank. Did either of you come across this at all in the socials?
Well, it came up on Who News.
Did it?
Yes, I got an alert about Dalek in Robin Hood Bay, which is where it was in North Yorkshire.
It's a nice spot,
which is where,
actually.
yes, I've been there. I'll tell you why I was there because me and Kath, my partner, did the coast to coast walk.
Nice.
And that is where you either start or finish at, depending which way you're going. In Robin Hood's Bay, it is very lovely. It's an interesting. I like the idea that the Daleks have come to save the Earth and they are mainly operating in a suburban road in North Yorkshire.
Yeah.
That shows just how bad parking in London is in the 21st century. The Daleks have been driven out into the sticks as well.
We should say what they were saying. They were saying, I mean, I can't do the impression of them, Frank.
Oh, go on.
Shall I?
They were saying, all humans must self-isolate by order of the Daleks. If Nicholas Briggs is listening, I apologise for that, but that was, I don't know if he's, he has some computer.
You see, the reason I can't do that is it's too triggering and it just reminds me of actors smoking and drinking wine when I hear that. But
because they were at your house.
Yes, they're all at my house.
You don't know how lucky you were to have Daleks around your house.
But what was odd, I don't quite understand this, because it was the police in Scotland were sharing the video, weren't they, to sort of encourage people to stay indoors. But how did you feel about this, Frank? They said our colleagues in Scarrow Division have deployed. What is it, Scarrow? Have deployed.
Scarrow is the home of the original home of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have deployed their direct action local enforcement cops. Okay. Dalek, to ensure everyone is following guidelines. But they used a sort of TARDIS acronym. It's actually a backronym, the TARDIS, isn't it? Totally awesome.
What is a backronym?
A backronym means that the acronym was applied after the fact.
Yeah.
So TARDIS came first, and then whatever it stands for came after. It was applied afterwards.
I don't. That may be televisually, but surely it would have had the name TARDIS actually on Gallifrey would have come from the time and relative dimensions in space. That's how it would have got its
Okay,
name.
and other conversations I never thought I'd be involved in. Anyway, totally awesome rightly distanced isolation systems. I didn't like that.
What was it that you didn't like about it? Because I have a strong feeling about this. What was it that you didn't like?
I didn't like it just felt forced. I don't like things forced.
Is that specifically the police being too friendly, forced?
I didn't like the fact that the police are doing material Suddenly the police are coming.
There was a bit of that.
Get back on your own territory. What, am I supposed to suddenly start doing citizens' arrests if there's some people playing frisbee?
The police farce. That's what this was. It did have an element of policeman dances with revellers at Notting Hill Carnival.
Oh, God, I hate that as well.
Oh, man.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
The video of the Dalek that's all over the internet now. I tell you what I particularly liked about it is after it had said all humans must self-isolate by order of the Daleks, there's still quite a long bit of the video where the Dalek, in a very melancholy way, just goes up the road in silence, like it's sort
So
of just
depressing.
Thinking about stuff. And I never really... They so rarely come over as introspective, the Daleks. But this one just...
What do you mean?
Oh,
It was sort
man.
of a bit romantic poets, wasn't it? On his own, contemplating the cosmos.
Yeah,
It
like he was
yeah.
doing his mandatory hour of exercise. I said, well... But just going off, oh, yeah.
Maybe it's the burden of being an enforcer of, oh, God, I'd really like some downtime. But
Yeah, I know. It's
Also,
it's not
I mean,
what they were. It's not why he joined the Daleks, to be giving people health advice. He joined there to destroy and conquer. It must be worrying to them that the runners now are a greater threat to Earth's population than the Daleks are.
Yeah, I know. They've lost the USP, haven't they? They've got nothing. No unique selling
I'm surprised it's a Dalek, though. I would have thought a Cyberman would be quite a terrifying Doctor Who figure for these times. And they've got the face mask on ready to go, haven't they?
They have got, that's
handy.
true. They have got
Yeah.
all that. They are part human as well, so I think they could maybe get it, though.
Oh.
You
I
see,
think they could get it.
Daleks, very thick-waisted, the Dalek, aren't they?
Don't
Well,
body shame them.
On that subject, I would say they're slim. I would say it's all going to be pear-shaped for the dark. I'd say they've got quite a slim waist if you look for where their arms
Well, it depends
are.
what if you think the waist is where the sink plunger or whatever it is, the 70s sink plunger
Yeah, I think
is.
it's a sort of the old Simon Cowell trousers look, quite a high waist.
Is that what they're up to?
And then
they
what
always
they
have to get a
call
look in.
they call the skirt, they call it, of the Dalek.
Do
That's
they?
a nice
then-
skirt, huh?
And then the Dalek, that happened to me this week. I was having an avocado, and I cut the avocado in half. You know when you work your way around the stone inside, and as I pulled it apart, the stone sits in one half of the avocado.
What do you do when that happens then?
I always think, oh, looks just like a Dalek bump. You know the bumps on a Dalek?
Yeah.
Yes,
There's
I do.
a great Colin Baker line when he said a Dalek can never change its bumps
Oh,
like
that is good.
a leopard and spots. Oh,
It's hardly my kingdom for a horse, but anyway. Well, you know the most depressing photograph I've ever seen, in fact, Frank?
no,
was
I'd love
a
to know what that
Dalek's-
was.
Okay, let's clarify. One of the most depressing photographs I've ever seen was the eye of a Dalek. You could see the black paint had rubbed off. You could see a remnant of an orange sort of ball cock underneath where it had been painted. I mean, come on.
Really? But I like a bit of that. I remember in the first Batman film when he gets in, I think, the bat plane, and it's a bit chipped. The paint's a bit chipped on the dash, and I think, oh, I like that. It looks a bit lived in.
Yeah, but not because they didn't have enough
That's what
money
I
in the
think.
props department.
Like those, those very multi-line Bolivian peasant women you get on the cover of National Geographic.
Yeah, they
I
look
prefer
lived in.
those now to the supermodels. I like
Oh, good,
something
because that's
that
a
looks...
Christmas future post-isolation for me.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I must check out the Dalek with orange paint or without silver paint. That'd
Yeah.
be Yeah, I like to think I know most of the iconic. Of course, one of the most notorious Dalek photo opportunities was Katie Manning, who was a former companion. Might well have been around your house at some point in the 70s. She, after she left Doctor Who, did a naked picture shoot with a Dalek.
She never.
Which was... she honestly did. Yeah. But it was a bit... She has to sort of cling very closely to the Dalek, to retain her privacy.
I mean, I've heard of specialist interest, but blimey.
But you know those things where... Yeah, I worry that, with metal, like if you lick... There was a bloke who licked a car, I remember. Some drunken bloke in the paper who licked a car and his tongue stuck to it. Because, metal, if it gets hot or cold, can do that.
Yes.
But anyway, she survived. But
that's heartwarming.
Yes, it was... I've got to say about this Dalek that I've seen a few privately owned Daleks over the years. I don't think this is anything to do with...
to kiss and tell.
No.
I'll tell you who's got one. Hasn't Lee Mack got one?
Harry Hill had one, and I think he left it at his management company when he departed. Stephen Moffat has got one.
Okay.
And a man next to where my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law live, he's got one. There's a few privately owned ones, but this is without a doubt I've never seen one that has got the running action of this one. This one it's a different class. I mean, it's absolutely careering.
You're right there, Al. How you doing?
I'm just enjoying this.
It's careering down the pavement. Often they don't, it's hard to move them about. It's. I was very impressed by that. I'd like to know, is there someone inside? Is it remote controlled? Who knows?
I don't want to play sci-fi. I don't want to play sci-fi top trumps, but I do feel maybe a Triffid might be an even better deterrent from Day of the Triffids.
Oh, yeah. Good shout.
Because they're sinister, but there's something, I don't know. I think for me, I'm honestly not putting Daleks down. We're all God's children.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I find them comical rather than sinister, if I'm honest, Frank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I still think they're the blackest villains in the cosmos. Okay. But, as you say, we're all different. By the way, I did watch recently Doctor Who and the Silurians, and in that
Frank,
one...
come on.
There's a virus. The Silurians...
This is getting a bit much.
Yeah. They live under the earth and they release a virus to finish off humanity. And the doctor
that's nice.
puts a lab coat on and comes up with a cure in, I'd say, about 2.5 hours. So I think there's no testing, nothing. They just put it straight out there. Everyone takes it, and it's fine. So I think we can, we can learn many lessons. There's people blaming the Chinese. My money's on the Silurians for all this. I think they've come back again. I found it quite inspirational, the doctor just sitting with a few test tubes and then saying, that's it, I've got it, and then writing it down freehand to send to the government.
Simpler times.
Oh, so much simpler.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So, as we near the end of the show, have we heard any more from our fabulous readers?
Well, we have. We've had this in from Belfast Cole. He dreamt about you, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you feel about Belfast Cole, but he says, I had a dream last night. I met at Frank on the radio on a late night bus in Coventry. Nice bloke.
I've been on a few. In fact, I used to briefly live right next to Poole Meadow, which is the central bus station in Coventry. So that could have happened.
Nice bloke, but shook my hand as he got off at his stop, and my wife told me off for not keeping my distance. Anyhow, Frank, nice to meet you.
Of course, as we now know, handshaking, very Birmingham.
Oh, yeah, very.
Yes.
Maybe it's stretched to Coventry. It's in that direction,
Yes.
gone through Solihull
Surprised
nice
you
to
picked it
know.
up, though.
But I think it's nice to know that you got a good review in someone's dream, Frank.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting is that my dreams, and I'm not going to start doing specifically, I had this
Because as
dream,
we all know,
but-
what do we know? Listening to people's dreams is more boring than listening to their problems. But we'll allow you this.
Yes, but this is a generalisation.
Yes.
For about the first 5 or 6 days, or nights, I suppose, of lockdown, my dreams remained as they had been. So I would wake up and think, oh, I was, sitting, chatting to someone, blah, blah, or whatever I was doing in the dream. I've cleaned it up a bit. Because you can't do that now. And then I noticed that in my dreams over the last 10 days, I've started to observe the government guidelines.
That's
So
good.
there must be, it must be so. I mean, there's still, I'm still doing my signature defecating in public places motif, but with less witnesses, I noticed.
In
So
the dreams.
you're evolving in your
Yeah.
dreams.
So in the dreams, I'm not making this up. I am. It has now got into my dreams. So I'm not dreaming about going out really hardly at all. And if I am, then it's I'm keeping my distance from people. It shows. I think it's the Catholic in me. I've got such a hunger for strict rules that I've even taken it.
Well, we
into
know about
my-
that in the basement.
Yeah, taken it into my sleeping time, which is pretty outstanding.
For many years, I've had a sort of rules-based dreaming habit. I used to do some material about how boring a dream once was that I had, where I dreamt that I had forgotten to renew my car tax, and I had to go to the post office and renew it. Very, very humdrum admin task.
Yeah, I used to have the most fantastic dreams, and now mine they've become very domestic. They're sort of things I can really do, which seems a waste of a thing
It
to
does
do in a dream.
when you could be flying.
Well,
We also
exactly.
have a text, a message from at Mike Kelly Disco, who suggests when he was growing up around the same time as yourself, Frank, my parents always used to prick sausages before cooking them, but nobody seems to do it anymore. What's changed?
Oh, where do you stand on that?
Can I say I had no idea that had stopped. I still I always prick every time.
I Stuart Pierce them all over the place.
No, I don't. I've
You
stopped, but I
don't?
don't know why.
Don't you get those horrible meat pustules come splitting out of them?
Yeah,
You're all right
Yes.
with that?
it seems I am. Yeah, I
But
don't know why I
I've
don't.
given him some
Well,
cream for that.
I couldn't live with that. It's like eating a snake with a hernia.
Don't mind that either.
No, you don't mind that? Okay. Especially if it's eating one of them that's eating a goat. You know, the one with the enormous swollen. Oh, fantastic.
Look, if the freezer needs defrosting, I'll have anything.
I thought you was going to say if the freezer needs defrosting and the creeks don't rise. Oh, speaking of that, we come to the end of the show. Look, thank you guys. We're not, we are all staying in and observing the rules, but knowing you're out there means a tremendous amount to us. Thank you so much for listening. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now stop in.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.